I'm Tracy Alicia, and this is the Kingdom Pioneer Podcast. Happy Monday, everyone. Well, if you are new to this channel, you may have been drawn here by the title regarding a pneumothorax experience. And I want to welcome you to stay. I perceive this to be a 3-part series because that's how long this experience lasted for me to get in all of the details. The Lord pressed upon me to share about my experience for a couple of reasons. When I went through this experience, I was feverishly scouring the internet for people who had gone through this experience because I wanted to see what was coming. I wanted to prepare. I wanted to know if I was normal, if I was experiencing things the way they did. And I just didn't find very much information that really resonated with what I was experiencing or how my treatment plan was going. So I'm hoping that by me sharing this story, it's going to help maybe you who either are in the throes of experiencing it or have experienced it, or just knowledge for the future. I will tell you that Kingdom Pioneers podcast was created to help that 9-to-5 person, the person that is going out into the workplace to take territory for the kingdom of God and to be light into darkness. And so this is a faith-based channel that we talk about the goodness of God, and I'm definitely going to be sharing the goodness of God and my full testimony that is hand in hand with this pneumothorax position. So no matter if you are here for just the testimony of the Lord or how the Lord used this to catapult my service out in the 9-to-5, or you're looking for some other reason, I hope you will stay for the 3 episodes. I believe that there will be little nuggets of truth and gold and treasures for each person that will come here to visit. So just prior to anything happening, about April 27th, and this was the year 2022, I had received a phone call from my property manager of my home, and they had let me know that the owner of the property was ready to sell, and basically they gave me a very kind 30-day eviction notice. And the name of the property manager, her name was Grace, and I really wanted to take the news with Grace, right? I was in a position where I felt like the home was mine, and I was going to seek the Lord on it. And actually, on this phone call, I was able to pray for Grace. Grace was going through some things in her own family, and she was walking through a difficult time. And she said, wow, I've never made an eviction call like that before, and actually had someone not just be kind to me, but to actually pray for me. And so 3 days later, on May 1st, was when things started to happen medically for me. I had a cough, just some cold symptoms, nothing real severe, nothing that kept me out of work or in bed for any certain amount of time, just some nagging things. And I had that for about 3 months. And I was cleaning the house just a regular Saturday, and I bent over to pick up something off of the floor. When I did, I felt a pain in my back. And I had recalled years ago when I had pneumonia that I had severe pain in my back, and it was double lung pneumonia at the time. And I thought, oh my goodness, that's probably a sign that I should get my lungs checked out, but I have all these things in the house that I need to get done. I'm going to get my house cleaned first. And if I'm still feeling that uneasiness in my back, then I will go, I'll go get it seen. So sure enough, Sunday morning I get up and the pain is not any better. And because of my previous experience with pneumonia, I thought, I'm just going to go to the doctor, and I'm going to go to the clinic, and I'm going to get it checked out. So I went into the clinic, and bless this sweet, I guess she was a physician's assistant, but I went in there and just very headstrong. I felt I'd already diagnosed myself. I already knew that I just needed some antibiotics or some steroids, or, just something to get me, just give me a Z-Pack. I'll be okay. And, just get a chest x-ray. I was leading this thing, right? And she comes in and she kept saying, do you mind if we do an EKG? And I was like, an EKG is for a heart patient? Like, no, I just have a cold. I need, there's something in my chest, no. And she said, well, your blood pressure is a little elevated, and, you are having some chest pains. And so I really think that we need to do an EKG. And I was just like, no, I just want to get out of here. Like, just give me my prescription. I know what it is. Let me just go home. And so she did. She obliged. And about 2 hours later, she calls, and she was like, Miss, we need you to go to the nearest ER. And I was like, I'm sitting on my couch, having lunch, about to watch my church service online, and there's no need for me to go to the ER. And she was very methodical in how she was talking to me. She was trying to keep the air of the conversation very calm, but yet use words with a sense of urgency. And so she said, when she said pneumothorax, it kind of went over my head the first time. But then as she's talking, my brain starts to go through, the files of remembering things. And sure enough, there had been a young lady in the ministry out of Alabama that was very close to our church that had just experienced a pneumothorax. And we had been fervently praying for her. And so as soon as I realized what that was, I was like, oh my goodness, I have a collapsed lung. And so I hung up, and I started pacing. I was like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? I called my daughter. My other daughter was at home. And up until this point, we had in our service Pastor Josh, who always led communion. And I had been so drawn to these services that I had them in a certain file in my YouTube where I could just go and just watch the communion service, just one communion service after another. And I would just meditate on that and pray into that. And I was taking communion every day. And so I stopped everything that I was doing. I knew my daughter was on the way to get me. And so I just ran into my room and I sat down and I just started having communion with the Lord and just praying, I need your hand on me. I don't know what's going on. I don't know what's in store for me. And then I called my faith mama. And my faith mama said, we are not looking at what you are walking through in the natural. You are going to keep your eyes on Jesus, and you are going to see where Jesus is working, and you are going to come alongside of him. So at this point, I had my communion. I had my marching orders from my faith mama on where my mindset was going to be, and how this was going to go. And I resided myself, okay, we're going to the ER. So my daughter and I, we went to Vanderbilt, and it was a Vanderbilt clinic that I had already gone to, so they had the x-rays. And when I walked in, they were just like feverishly like, my goodness, you would think I was dying. And I guess at that point I was questioning that, but they just, got me in a room and just really started prepping me. You have a collapsed lung, and we need to take care of this. And they did the x-rays and things like that, and you could see it on the x-rays. And again, I was just pacing in that hospital room, and I said, I just need some time. To be honest, I was thinking, I've seen Grey's Anatomy. I know what happens with a collapsed lung, right? It is not pleasant. It is not pretty. And so by that time, my son had arrived on the scene, and they're telling me, oh, we're gonna give you this medicine, and it's gonna relax you, and everything is gonna be okay. And we just have this, procedure that we need to do. And so, I can tell that I'm getting worked up. And I was just like, okay, I'm going to take this medicine. I'm going to trust them, and I lay down, in this ER room, and my daughter has left, and my son is with me. And, let me tell you, I was not prepared for what was coming. They took a tube and started it from my top, because my lung was collapsing from the top down. And when they inserted that, it was one of the most difficult things I have ever gone through, and nearly came up off of the bed, to the point that my son was holding me, and the doctor was like, looked at my son like, what do I do? And my son was like, you've already started it. I've got her. You have to finish it. And so that was how they tubed my lung. And let me tell you, if it ever happened again, I would insist on more than just a little medication to help if you are in that situation, if you're in the situation where you can get some better help. But that was what I experienced. And they got me in a room, and they started, the very next day, they started talking about surgery, lung surgery. And I was like, I can't go into surgery right now. I can't be down. My son that's with me is a week or two away from his wedding. I mean, we have plans. It's been in the works for a year. She has the dress. I have the dress. I've got to be at this wedding. Like, the only thing I could focus on was I have to be at this wedding. And so they had inserted some tubes, and they increased the suction, which was not pleasant at all. It was quite painful. But my son stayed with me the whole time. And at the end of 4 days, they said, and they're constantly taking x-rays. They're constantly x-raying to see where that lung is, and if it's being inflated, and if it's healthy, and the progress of it. and you're just sitting on the edge of your seat as you're getting these x-rays, because the outcome of that x-ray says what the next steps are going to be, whether you've gone backward or you're moving forward. And so I was very thankful that with each x-ray we were moving forward. And so they discharged me, and I worked from home. I was very thankful. I was already planning on being off for the wedding. And so the next week I came home, and so at this point there's a week out of the 30 days, right, that I was given to be evicted out of my home. And so starting the first day that I got home, I just told the Lord, I'm going to operate in faith, that this is my home. You've given me this home. I believe I'm supposed to be here. And so I started the Jericho march. I needed to walk. I needed to be up out of the bed. We didn't want pneumonia to set into the lungs. And so I got outside every day, and I just walked around the perimeter of my home. And so I did that up until the 7th day. Now, the 7th day was the day that I was supposed to leave for the wedding. My second son was coming to pick me up. And that was also the day that, if you recall the story of Jericho, they marched around the walls of Jericho 6 days in silence. But on the 7th day, when they marched, they praised the Lord, and they marched around it 7 times. And on that 7th time, they released the joy of the Lord, and with shouts of glory and shouts of praise. And so there was a lot going on that day. So I'll take you through it. The beginning of that morning, I walked around the perimeter. I'm packing. I'm getting ready for the wedding. I'm still sore. I'm still kind of wore out from being in the hospital. But I took that 7th lap, and I just rejoiced and shouted for the Lord. I just thanked the Lord that He put a roof over my head, and that He was blessing me. And I did that outside in my suburban neighborhood, and was just praising the Lord and thanking Him for the provisions that He had given me. From there, I had a court date. I had a court date on a previous issue, and I had been praying for that. So I walked into court, and I had my court time, and did not know, but my lung was already starting to collapse. I just thought that maybe I was in some pain. And so we drove from Middle Tennessee to Gatlinburg, and on the way, I didn't think I was going to make it. In fact, I was calling the people ahead and saying, do you know of a hospital? I think I need to stop by the hospital. I'm not feeling well. And it was really the closer we got to our destination, the scarier it got. We were going through some altitude, and I think that was a part of it that had me. But we arrived, and things kind of evened out a little bit. And I just got off to myself, and I was praying. And I knew things were not well. Things were not settled in me. And as the wedding festivities went on, I ended up sleeping in the living room in a leather recliner because I couldn't lay down. And I knew that my lung had collapsed again at that wedding. And so I just want to let you know that the Lord was directing me. He was with me. He had the right people in the right place at the right time to do all the things that needed to be done. He even gave me the desire of my heart to be at my son's wedding, and just to be that mother of the groom and to enjoy that. And so I am going to end the first episode of that right here, because there's so much more to share. There's more to share about the house. There's more to share about the healing. There's more to share about looking for Jesus on the way. And so I hope you will join me right here at Kingdom Pioneers next Monday for the rest of the story and how things progressed. So I wish you a very blessed week. I hope that healing is coming to you, that you are having Jericho moments, that you are walking in faith and surrounding your home and your family and your work in the provision of the Lord and the promises of the Lord, and that you are shouting great authority and you are shouting great praise for the things that not just He is doing, but what He's about to do. I believe, because I took that Jericho march, that things turned out so much better. I had the shout of glory that was around me as I walked out the remainder of this experience. And so I pray that you have just an experience with the Lord that lets you know that you know that you know that His hand is upon you, that His eyes see you, that He is there for you. I can't wait to tell you the rest of the story next week, friends. I'll see you soon.